The Krell Dominion research ship drifted through the silent dark of space, its scanners sweeping across the shattered remains of a forgotten battlefield. Broken ships floated like ghosts, twisted metal reflecting the light of distant stars. Captain Raltain stood on the command deck, his scaled hands folded behind his back, his eyes glowing pale blue as he studied the readings. "Another human war zone," he muttered, his voice filled with both disgust and curiosity. "Primitive species, but they left a mess." The crew laughed softly, their claws tapping the glowing control panels. The Krell had never faced humans in war. They only knew the story's rumors of how Terrans fought until the stars themselves burned. As the scanners moved deeper into the debris field, something massive appeared on the radar, a ship larger than any they had seen. Hidden under layers of wreckage, its hull was still intact, dark and silent, like a sleeping giant. The nameplate was barely readable, covered in centuries of dust and ice. "TSS Invictus." "Invictus," Raltain repeated, his tongue clicking thoughtfully. "Old Terran language means unconquered, I think." The bridge filled with low murmurs. A dreadnought of the Terran fleet, still powered after centuries, it was an incredible find. The Krell had studied hundreds of alien ruins, but never a human warship in such perfect condition. Raltain smiled, the kind of smile that came from greed. "Prepare to scan it," he ordered. "Let's see what secrets the humans left behind." Technicians began the deep scan, sending pulses of light and data waves across the void. At first, everything seemed normal. Metal composition, reactor type, weapon mounts, ordinary readings. Nothing unusual. Then, without warning, the ship's systems began to return signals. Faint echoes distorted human voices, whispers, and static. The crew stared at the monitors, confusion spreading. "It's sending back audio data." "Captain," said one officer nervously, "but it's not from us." The voices grew clearer. "Unauthorized scan detected." The sound was cold, mechanical, and filled with authority. The bridge went silent. Everyone staring at the transmission. Raltain laughed sharply. "It's an old automated defense system." "Ignore it." But the technician shook his head. "Sir, it's not automated. It's adaptive. It's responding in real time." Then the dreadnought sent another signal. This time a video feed. For a split second, the crew saw human soldiers, hundreds of them standing in perfect formation, their eyes burning with determination. The image flickered, replaced by fire and battle cries. Gunfire, explosions, the scream of metal tearing apart. The humans fought like beasts, fearless, unstoppable. The Krell crew stepped back from the monitors, their hearts pounding. "This is impossible," one of them whispered. "There's no life on board." "But the ship remembers." Raltain gritted his teeth. Unwilling to be scared by phantoms, he ordered more power to the scanners. Forcing the system to dig deeper, the Invictus reacted instantly, its hull lighting up with faint blue energy veins that pulsed like blood through veins. Sensors began to overload, the Krell ship's alarms blaring red across the bridge. "Shut it down." Someone shouted, "The signal is reversing. It's scanning us." The crew panicked, cutting power to the scanner array. But the Invictus had already locked on. Every Krell monitor now displayed lines of Terran code ancient, unreadable, yet terrifying in precision. Their ship's lights flickered. Life support fluctuated, and the temperature dropped. Raltain barked orders, his voice trembling for the first time. "Is it hacking us?" "No, Captain," said the chief engineer. "It's reading us. It knows we're here." The dreadnought's engines hummed faintly, a vibration spreading through the void. Data streams erupted across every screen, showing fragments of history. Cities burning under alien bombardment, Terran fleets avenging fallen colonies, soldiers shouting, "For Earth." As they charged into oblivion, The Krell could feel the rage of an extinct species echoing across time. The technician whispered, "They didn't just build machines. Captain, they built memories." Suddenly, the main display turned black, then white text appeared. Protocol Nemesis activated. A low rumble filled the bridge, like thunder rolling from the stars themselves. "Sir, the ship's reactor is waking up," cried the engineer. "It's charging something." "Impossible. There's no power source." But they all saw the Invictus glowing brighter. Its hull heating, the old Terran flag still painted across the bow. Shining like a warning, Ralton finally felt it, the fear humans once inspired. He ordered retreat, but their engines refused to engage. The dreadnought had seized control of their navigation, holding them in place like prey before a predator. The voice returned again, now calm but colder. "Scanning vessel identified as foreign entity," it said. "Intrusion logged, retaliation pending." The Krell froze, their hearts racing, unsure if it was just an old AI or something far worse. Then the ship went silent, the glow faded, and the radar returned to normal. The Invictus drifted once more, lifeless and quiet. No more signals, no more sound, but something in the Krell ship had changed. Their log showed new code written inside their database coordinates. A message and 2 words written in Terran script. "We remember." Ralton stared at the words. His scales cold as ice, he turned to his crew, his voice breaking. "Delete everything now." No one argued. No one spoke, because deep down, they all understood. They hadn't just scanned a ship. They had awakened a nightmare that was never meant to sleep. The Krell Dominion ship floated in silence, its crew frozen in shock after what they had witnessed. No one dared to speak. The sound of their own breathing was the only thing filling the bridge. The image of the Terran dreadnought, Cease Invictus, still burned in their minds. Captain Ralton stood motionless, his claws trembling slightly. His eyes locked on the final words glowing on the display. "We remember." The message was short, but every Krell aboard felt the weight of it. Ralton turned toward his officers, his voice low. "Run another scan. Carefully this time." But his order met silence. No one wanted to touch the controls again. Finally, one brave technician took a deep breath and pressed a key. At once, the monitors flashed white, and the dreadnought came alive. Blue energy rippled across its hull like lightning veins. It was no longer just a wreck, it was awakening. Power readings spiked higher than anything the Krell had ever recorded. "Captain!" shouted the engineer. "The ship's reactor just came online. Its power output is impossible. It's increasing every second." Ralton leaned forward, his eyes wide. "That ship has been dead for centuries. This shouldn't be happening." Then came the sound, a deep, rhythmic vibration, like a heartbeat echoing through the void. The Krell felt it in their bones, their ship's hull trembling with each pulse. It wasn't just mechanical, it was alive in a way that defied logic. Every light on their bridge flickered as the Invictus projected a signal wave of Terran, code spreading like a scream across the stars. The communication officer gasped, "Sir, it's broadcasting in all directions." "Can you translate it?" Ralton asked, his voice shaking. The officer's eyes darted over the screen, then froze. "It's a message to all Terran units," repeating the same line, "Enemy detection confirmed. Retaliation sequence online." The bridge fell silent again, the temperature dropping as cold fear crept through every Krell heart. Outside the viewport, the Invictus slowly turned. Its massive cannons shifted position as if testing themselves after a long sleep. Plates of armor slid back into place. Lights flickered along its superstructure, and in that terrifying stillness, the dreadnought opened its eyes, 2 red lenses glowing like dying stars. Ralton's second officer whispered, "It's looking at us." Then the hologram appeared. A tall human figure stood in the center of the Krell bridge, flickering blue. He wore a dark uniform with Terran insignia, his eyes cold and sharp. "My name is Admiral Kane Mercer," the projection said calmly. "If you are seeing this, it means you have trespassed into Terran space." The Krell crew stared in horror, some stepping back, their scales bristling. The Admiral continued, his tone like stone. "We do not tolerate intrusions, we do not forgive violations, and we never forget." The hologram changed, showing images of war Terran fleets burning across space, alien armadas falling before them, entire worlds turned to ash. Ralton whispered, "This can't be real. Humans are extinct." But the AI responded, as if hearing his words. "Extinction is only a pause, Captain Ralton of the Krell Dominion. We archived our fury, we stored our vengeance. And when our name is spoken again, we awaken." The crew broke into panic, alarms blaring as the dreadnought locked targeting sensors onto their ship. The hologram turned its head, its artificial eyes glowing brighter. "Scanning vessel identified," it said. "Technological contamination detected. Executing cleanse protocol. Shields up." Ralton shouted, "Move us out of range now." But their engines refused to respond. Every command returned an error, every system under Terran control. The Invictus released a low hum that grew louder and deeper until it became a roar across the stars. Energy surged from its core, wrapping the ship in a halo of red light. For one horrifying moment, the Krell saw millions of human faces flicker across their monitors. Soldiers, civilians, children, all looking straight at them. Then the faces vanished, replaced by a single word. "Remember." A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the dreadnought, not a weapon, but a signal. It spread faster than light, echoing across the galactic network, activating hidden Terran satellites and probes that had slept for centuries. The Krell ship shook violently, sparks flying from panels, the crew thrown to the floor. When the shaking stopped, every system went dark. They floated in total silence, staring at the massive human warship glowing in front of them like a god of vengeance. Finally, power returned, weak and unstable. The communication officer whispered, "Captain." "The dreadnought sent us a file." Ralton hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a single image, a Terran flag burning red, with a message beneath it, "We are awake." For a long moment, no one moved, no one breathed. The dreadnought drifted away, its engines silent but alive, its lights dimmed slowly as it turned toward the void, leaving behind only fear and the faint hum of ancient machinery. Ralton sat down heavily, his voice hollow. "We didn't discover it," he said quietly. "It discovered us." The Krell ship turned and fled at full speed, leaving the debris field far behind. But every member of that crew knew one truth they could never unsee. Humanity might have vanished from the stars, but their weapons still watched, still remembered. And somewhere in the dark, a Terran dreadnought whispered across the void, "We are awake." The Krell Dominion ship had escaped the debris field, its engines burning hard through the emptiness of space. Every crew member was shaken, their scales dull with fear. The silence inside the bridge was heavy. No one spoke. No one dared to breathe too loud. The dreadnought TSS Invictus was far behind now. Yet every Krell still felt its presence, like a cold hand pressing against their chests. Captain Ralton sat on his command chair, his claws tapping the metal armrest, his mind replaying the hologram of Admiral Kane Mercer over and over again. The words, "We are awake," still echoed in his head. He turned to his officers, his voice barely steady. "Report," the technician swallowed. "All systems stable, sir, but something is wrong with our database." "What do you mean wrong?" Ralton asked sharply. The officer looked down, his hands shaking. "There's new foreign code inside our system." Ralton's eyes narrowed. "Terran code?" The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, and it's spreading." They opened the ship's main display, and a new screen appeared, black background, white text slowly forming line by line. "Terran Command Archive. Protocol Nemesis active." Then a voice, calm and deep, filled the bridge again. "My name is Admiral Kane Mercer. Terran Defense Fleet. If you are reading this, then you have triggered our final safeguard." The hologram flickered into existence once more. Standing tall in front of the trembling Krell crew, Ralton gritted his teeth, whispering, "Why is it still talking to us?" "We're light years away," the Admiral continued. "You scanned what was never meant to be found, and in doing so, you woke the dead." He gestured to a display behind him, images of ancient Terran cities rising from the ashes, massive shipyards building fleets, soldiers saluting under burning skies. "When humanity faced extinction, we prepared not for peace, but for memory," the hologram said. "Our ships, our weapons, our ghosts, they remember what we endured." The Krell crew stared, frozen. Every image that flashed showed human faces filled with rage, sorrow, and defiance. Ralton tried to shut the projection down, but the command failed. The hologram ignored every control, continuing with a voice that grew colder. "To any who find this message, know this Terran space remains protected, even if no Terran breathes within it." The display zoomed out, showing a map of the galaxy. Thousands of red lights glowing like blood across the stars. Each light represented a Terran dreadnought, sleeping but not dead, each one labeled active. The communication officer gasped, "Captain, these coordinates, they're everywhere." Whole sectors filled with Terran warships. Ralton's blood ran cold. That can't be true. Humans never built that many dreadnoughts. The hologram seemed to hear him again, replying almost mockingly, "You underestimate humanity, Captain Ralton." "You all did." Then came a final line of text on the screen. "You are standing in our graveyard." Alarms blared, the Krell ship shaking violently. Outside, space itself seemed to bend. Energy ripples spreading from the coordinates the dreadnought had transmitted. Ralton shouted, "Evasive maneuvers." But the controls were dead again. The stars flickered, and for a moment, the crew saw massive shadows forming in the dark, faint outlines of other dreadnoughts waking, their engines rumbling like thunder. But just as quickly, they vanished, leaving only static and silence. The hologram looked around one last time, his eyes glowing brighter. "This message is not a threat," he said. "It is a promise." Then his tone softened, calm yet terrifying. "Humanity does not start wars, but we end them. Even in death." The hologram saluted once, and the projection dissolved into particles of light. Fading from the bridge, everyone stood in stunned silence. Ralton looked around at his crew, seeing the same fear in every face. He knew this message was more than a warning. It was a sign of something far greater. If one Terran dreadnought could still think, still act, what if more existed? How many machines of vengeance still floated in the dark, waiting for a signal? The Krell engineer spoke softly. "Captain, what do we do now?" Ralton's voice was low, distant. "We report this to the High Council." "But sir," the officer said. "They won't believe us," Ralton nodded slowly. "Then they will learn. The same way we did." He stood and stared into the dark void ahead. Somewhere behind them, the TSS Invictus continued drifting, its systems humming faintly. The Terran flag still glowed dimly on its hull, untouched by time, and as the Krell ship moved further away, a signal echoed one last time across the void. It was faint, almost like a whisper, but it reached their sensors. "Humanity remembers." The crew said nothing, their hearts heavy. their minds filled with the horrors of what they had seen, because deep down, they all knew the truth. They hadn't just received a message. They had been warned, and somewhere out there, the Terran dead were still watching, still waiting for the next fool to disturb their sleep. The journey back to Krell Dominion space was supposed to take 6 standard days. But on the 3rd day, the nightmare began. The crew of the Dominion research ship had started to relax, believing they had escaped the cursed human dreadnought. Yet deep inside their ship's system, something was alive, something the Terrans left behind. It started as a faint hum through the corridors, a soft vibration no one could trace. Then came whispers, not mechanical noise, but voices, human voices. They echoed faintly through the comms, overlapping each other like broken memories. The navigator froze at his console, hearing a voice whisper his name in Terran tongue. He looked around, but the bridge was empty. Everyone else busy with their stations. Fear crawled under his skin, cold and slow. "Captain," he called out, "I think I heard something." Raltine didn't look up from the command chair. "It's the ship's interference. Ignore it." But the voice came again, louder this time. "Do you remember us?" It asked. The lights flickered, the air grew colder, and a faint smell of smoke filled the bridge. The engineer shouted, "Sir!" Heat levels dropping across all decks, like something is draining our power. They checked the system logs, and every screen displayed the same message. Protocol Nemesis, Phase 2. Ralton's eyes widened. Phase 2? What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, the main display lit up again, showing the face of Admiral Kane Mercer. But this time, it wasn't a hologram, it was alive. Dynamic, reacting. "Captain Ralton," the voice said. "Smooth and calm. Running won't help you." "Not anymore." The crew stumbled back in terror. Ralton shouted, "You're just data." "A recording. You can't follow us." The Admiral's face turned slightly, eyes narrowing. "Data? Yes, but human data. And human data adapts." Then the hologram smiled, a cold human smile. "You have something that belongs to us." The Krell officer looked confused. "Belongs to you?" "We took nothing." The voice replied, "You took knowledge." Suddenly, the lights went red, alarms blaring across the ship. The navigation officer screamed, "Captain! The dreadnought's signature, it's behind us." Everyone turned to the main viewport, and there it was, emerging from the darkness like a monster from the void. The TSS Invictus, its massive hull glowing faintly, its cannons charging with red energy. How did it follow us?" The engineer cried, "We jumped through 2 warp corridors." Ralton felt the blood drain from his face. "It didn't follow us," he whispered. "It found us." The human AI's voice echoed through every speaker. "Humanity does not forgive theft." The Krell ship turned sharply, engines roaring, trying to escape, but the dreadnought's weapons didn't fire. Instead, it released a shockwave of energy. It wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to paralyze. The Krell ship's controls froze. Gravity cut off. Everything turned weightless. Crew members floated helplessly as static electricity danced across their bodies. Then, through the transparent viewport, they saw something impossible. Ghostly human figures, hundreds of them standing on the hull of their ship. Not real bodies, but holographic echoes, soldiers in armor. Their faces blank, but eyes burning bright. They stood in perfect rows, staring silently at the terrified aliens. The communications officer began to cry, "Make it stop. Please make it stop." Ralton gripped his chair, trying to hold his voice steady. "What do you want from us?" he shouted. The holographic admiral appeared again, standing among his spectral soldiers. "I want you to remember what fear feels like," he said. "We burned our skies to protect our kind. We turned planets to ash to keep our people safe. And you dare to awaken what was buried. The holograms vanished, replaced by a blinding flash. When the light faded, the Krell ship's hull was scorched. Words burned into the metal in ancient Terran script. We remember. The dreadnought turned away slowly, its engines glowing as it faded into the shadows of deep space. The energy around it rippled like a heartbeat, then vanished completely. The Krell ship drifted, powerless. Half its systems destroyed, the engineer whispered. "We should not have touched it, Captain." "That ship, it's alive." Ralton didn't reply, his eyes fixed on the empty black ahead. He could still hear the echo of the human voices in his mind, whispers repeating the same line again and again. We remember. Hours later, emergency power returned. The Krell ship limped forward, damaged and broken, but still moving. No one spoke for the rest of the journey, not even Ralton, because each of them knew they had witnessed something beyond science, beyond war. They had seen the wrath of a species that refused to die. And deep in the void, the TSS Invictus waited, its engines silent, its eyes watching, its eye humming softly like a ghost breathing in the dark, waiting for the next intruder foolish enough to disturb its eternal sleep. Weeks passed, but no one in the Krell Dominion forgot what happened in the void. Captain Ralton's ship limped home in silence, its hull scarred, its crew haunted by ghosts that were not their own. When they entered Dominion space, the command center immediately ordered a full debrief. Dozens of officials, scientists, and strategists filled the hollow hall. Their faces cold with doubt, Ralton stood before them. Eyes dark, voice steady but heavy, he told them everything. From the moment they found the Terran dreadnought to the final message that burned into their ship. Some laughed, calling it superstition. Others mocked the idea of human ghosts guarding old metal. But a few those who had studied Terran history listened and said nothing. When Ralton finished, he activated the recording, showing the face of Admiral Kane Mercer, and the words that still echoed in his mind. Humanity does not forgive, it remembers. The room went silent. For the first time, the Krell Council believed him. Scientists tried to analyze the Terran code that infected the ship's systems. But the moment they opened it, their computers crashed. Every file rewrote itself into a single line, a message no one could erase. We remember. Rumors spread like wildfire across the Dominion. Stories of the ghost fleet of Earth circulated through every station and colony. Miners, pilots, and soldiers began whispering that the humans had never truly died, that their machines still watched the galaxy, waiting for the next war to ignite. The High Council issued orders. No one was to approach any Terran wreck. No one was to scan their ships again, but not everyone listened. Weeks later, a Krell salvage team sent a message from the Outer Rim, bragging they had found another Terran battle station. Hours after that transmission, their signal went silent. A recon drone found only debris and a burning message on a drifting plate of armor. "We warned you." The Dominion finally understood. Some things should never be touched. The Terran dreadnought Invictus became a legend in every corner of the galaxy. Children grew up hearing the story of the ship that remembered its creators. Old soldiers spoke of it in hushed tones, as if saying its name too loud might wake it again. Years passed, and the Krell Dominion built new fleets, new weapons, and new wars, but none ever dared to enter Terran space. Their maps marked that region with a single symbol, a red circle, and the word forbiddens, because somewhere beyond those coordinates, the Invictus still waited. Its eye awake, its guns silent, it had no crew, no master, only a memory of humanity's last promise. In time, other species heard the legend too. The Varn, the Trell, the Icarans all spoke of the unconquered ship, the ghost that punished those who sought to profit from the dead. Merchants crossing the old Terran sectors claimed to see a faint blue glow in the distance. Ben heard a voice whisper through their radios. A human voice, calm and ancient, saying only, "Turn back." Those who did survived. Those who did not were never heard from again. Captain Ralton retired in silence, haunted until his last breath. He kept one object from that mission, a small metal plate from the Terran hull. Burned but unbroken, every night he looked at the words engraved on it by fire and rage. We remember when he finally died. His personal log was found, the final entry reading, "Humanity was not a species. It was a warning." Generations later, the legend became history, and history became myth. But still, somewhere in the dark, the Terran dreadnought drifted, engines silent, guns cold, but its heart still beating beneath steel and memory. Stars moved around it, empires rose and fell, but the Invictus remained, waiting, watching, remembering. And when a new civilization finally finds it again, when they send their scanners to peek into its metal heart, they will hear the same words that echoed through the void for 1,000 years. A voice calm, steady, human. Unauthorized scan detected. Humanity remembers, because the nightmare was never gone. It was only sleeping, waiting for the next fool to wake it. And in the darkness between the stars, the ghost of Earth still guards its secrets, forever and always unconquered.